Hey, which glasses look better on me?
Oh, what's this?
Zenni's 3D virtual try-on. Pretty cool, right?
I don't know about the purple cat eyes.
I think they're fun. What about these tortoiseshell glasses? Or these rimless sunglasses? Oh, what about these clear frames?
Wait, are those prices real? Do they have glasses for men?
Yep. They also have affordable blue light glasses.
Seriously? At those prices? Get them all.
I like where this is going.
Zenni.com. Quality prescription glasses starting at $6.95.
Hey guys, this is Gail Kim from Impact Wrestling, and you are listening to the 8-Bit Suplex Podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the 8-Bit Suplex here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. I am your first half of your co-host, Josh McLaughlin. This is probably the worst introduction I've ever done. I'm a little spicy. It's a Friday night. Okay? It's been a long week. I don't know, Sandy. I don't know. But we'll see. Maybe I'll find the groove here as we get going. But the voice you heard there is my co-host, same as always, Sandy Gaviria. Sandy, how are you doing?
I'm good, Josh. How are you doing tonight?
Well, based on that intro, I'd say not good, but
yeah, right. You're not doing so well, huh?
Don't worry, I got my Diet Coke already cracked open, so you guys won't hear me opening the can. Shout outs to Josh number one for all the miscellaneous can noises and things that he produces on Kiss every week. But no, it's been a long week. It's been a busy week. It's been an exciting week in wrestling. Obviously, as the Impact Wrestling podcast here on Social Suplex Podcast Network, we're going to get into the big promo spot that Kenny Omega gave on Impact Wrestling. We were prepared to talk about Dynamite as well, depending on, because we thought that angle was going to get pushed further. It kind of didn't. It's kind of a rehash for the different network. But we'll definitely break down all things Kenny Omega. I think that's a fair thing to do, since he is, there's more reporting that he's going to be doing, continuing to work with Impact, which is a huge positive for us on this show, because not only do we watch Impact every week and love it, we're also going to get to talk about the best bout machine, the cleaner himself, Kenny Omega, and I'm a big Omega fan. Sandy, I'm sure you're a big Omega fan. I suppose we haven't really talked about that much, but I mean, if you're a fan of professional wrestling, you should be a fan of Kenny Omega's. But yeah, I mean, I guess let's just get into it, Sandy, because we got we also have to at the end of the show we'll be previewing Final Resolution, which of course is the Impact Plus event of this month. So without further ado, Sandy, why don't we just get into it with this first match here with Chris Sabin and Josh Alexander?
Let's do it. So, okay, I love this show, and of course now that we're watching Impact for this awesome podcast, I don't know, does that make me biased that I love Impact and I hate it when people, have been so critical of it, especially with the larger audience that they received this past Tuesday? I am going to start trolling on trolls online if they continue to be negative. But let's just start off. We have, like you mentioned, Josh Alexander and Chris Sabin. Yeah, before I go on a rant, excellent match to start. Like, if you are going to showcase the best, pure, physical, energetic, great storyline, great character work, match to kind of do like an expose of your current company, the status, your current stars, Josh Alexander and Chris Sabin is the way to go. And, I was watching it live. I actually watched it on the live Twitch stream. And while I was watching, it was, you had your few thousand, 20,000, 25,000. I just saw the number rise and I kept being shocked. Because if I'm not mistaken, I read that the average that they do on Twitch streams for Impact on Tuesday nights live is around 2,500, I believe I got that from Brian Alvarez or something like that. The show was reaching 32,000 streams for the very opening match, settling at around 28,000 in the beginning and then over 35 during the end. but yeah, this was, like I said, excellent, fast pace, hard hitting. There was a power bomb backbreaker to the spine from Josh to Chris Sabin that looked so brutal. I literally, like, my mouth just dropped. It was, you know how they usually do the backbreaker and it's, the person is horizontal on the person's knee?
Yeah.
No, like, this was all of Josh's knee and freaking thigh aligned with Chris Sabin's spine. And I was like, holy shit, like, it hurt my shitty back. But
Well,
at
and
the end,
the
we
worst part is that after he takes the bump on the back, he kind of lands on his his head a little bit too.
brutal. It was so brutal. But we see Chris Sabin getting the pin after Ethan Page. We've seen kind of the storyline with Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, how they're kind of bumping heads right now. Josh is not really approving of Ethan Page's methods because he took out Doc Gallows, which means they can't get to the championships fast enough. And then they just kind of had miscommunication here and there. And this one, we just see him kind of yell strategy at Josh at one point, which kind of gets them, I don't know, there was some miscommunication there, and then Chris Sabin gets the pin. So Josh, of course, is furious, but he's a great worker, and this match was excellent to start. What did you think?
Yeah, no, like you said, it's fast paced, it's hard hitting, it's this episode's recorded ahead of time, right? So it's not like they recorded this episode in reaction to the news that Kenny Omega was going to be on this week's episode of Impact, right? So it's one of those things where they have these matches, and I'm sure they probably said, okay, we know that Don and Kenny are going to be doing this. I doubt they told the talent what's going to happen, because it did seem on Twitter that most did not know that this was coming. At least that was my perception of it, because they didn't seem to know. I mean, they had all filmed their matches, they filmed their episodes, and they were all, from my understanding, they all left Nashville already. So they were gone before anything Kenny Omega related that was ever announced ever happened. But with that said, the planning that goes behind this episode of Impact to showcase really, really good matches, I thought was a great idea. I mean, and this leadoff match was absolutely fire. I mean, Chris Sabin has been towing a lot of the Motor City Machine Guns work lately. And then obviously here it's by design with the singles match. But man, I could watch that guy wrestle any day of the week, just like I could with Josh Alexander. And of course, like you mentioned, Chris Sabin does get the surprise roll up on him. Yeah, I mean, really, really good match to start things off.
Strong start, absolutely. And then, of course, throughout the night, we have Madison Rayne and Josh Matthews hyping up Kenny Omega being here. And so that gets us fired up. I mean, I think I saw in the Twitch comments, like, take a shot every time they mention Kenny Omega, which I would have gotten annihilated if I had
think
played
everyone
that
would
game.
have. I think everyone would have. That's not a game that you want to play.
I was like, oh, that seems interesting. And I'm like, wait, no, I would die. But yeah, so they were hyping it up. And next we just see Bay. We see Chris Bay. I call him just Bay. I got him like that.
Sure,
we see
hey,
Chris
why not?
Bay approaching Moose backstage to go over their tag match strategy. They are teaming up later on tonight for the main event. And Moose wants absolutely nothing to do with Bay unless Bay beats one for the title. Now that's coming up at Final Resolution, if I'm not mistaken. So this is pretty interesting. We see them, they have to tag later on. So I guess I was very intrigued. I was like, how the hell are you going to have a tag match when Moose just wants to kill Bay, pretty much?
Right. Yeah. No, and it was, I thought, great foreshadowing to how they did tag together, which was not very well. But yeah, no, I thought it was a really excellent backstage segment to kind of get you ready for what would the main event, at least the main event match, I should be noting, because the main event segment, of course, was the Kenny Omega interview.
Absolutely. And then next we have a video package for Rich Swann. But I gotta be honest, Josh, I don't know. I don't think you watched it live. You may have had hockey, correct?
Yeah, I did not watch it live. I watched it. I had a hockey game and then I watched it immediately following my hockey game. So I did watch it still Tuesday night, but I did not watch it live. So I missed a lot of the Twitch commercials and different things like that. That did not come through on the feed that I wound up watching on.
Gotcha, which is exactly what I was about to say. The ads on Twitch are so randomly and awkwardly placed. So they start this Rich One video package and immediately go into like these 3 commercials, and I was like, are you kidding me right now? So I couldn't really get to see it. They do show another one later on in the night, which is pretty well done for what they're trying to do for Rich One. But I was like, God dang it, like, why would you put stupid ads right there?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, like I said, the only ad I think that I saw on my feed, of course, was the All Elite Wrestling ad, which I don't think has come up yet at this point in the show. I wasn't unable to notate where the backstage segments went in between matches, so I'll rely on you, Sandy, to kind of fill in those gaps. But do we have anything else before we get to the next match of the night here?
We do. So they filled out this episode of Impact with tons of greatest moments from TNA from the past. And I think they kind of did this to show, hey, you know, your current favorite AEW stars have been here with us at Impact or previously known TNA. They've been here with us and they've had these amazing matches that you may have missed. So I think this was actually a really great way to say, hey, AEW maybe would not have been AEW if it wasn't for Impact at some point, because a lot of their stars grew there, started out there, did some amazing matches there that are just completely gone unnoticed. So we start the very first one, the greatest ultimate X moment, which was Kazarian from Victory Road in 2008. I'm so sorry. And so we show Kaz here. I didn't get a note of who he was going up against, but he has hair, and I don't think I've ever seen that man with hair. So that was really, I was like, they keep saying Kaz, like Kazarian, like AEW Kazarian. So he with long hair, and then he does this crazy freaking leg drop from this contraption above the ring that is, I can't even tell you how many feet high, and then he has to grab the title, I believe it was. Man, it's been a few days since I watched it, but that leg drop was insane. So they showed that from Victory Road in 2008. And before we get to the next match, another segment that we have is the, I think this is the one that you may be in reference to from earlier, Tony Khan addressing the Impact viewers via the quote-unquote paid ad.
Right. This is the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
This is where they show it, and it was hilarious. So they're promoting AEW Dynamite, and man, Josh, do you remember? I thought it was hilarious and so well done.
Yeah, no, I think it was probably one of the top 3 things from the night from just a pure entertainment perspective. Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone get on there and kind of do this faux commercial that Tony Khan is like, listen, man, I figured I'd help him out with some ad revenue, whatever, Kenny Omega, okay, yeah, go ahead, go there. You know what? I'm not mad about it, whatever. I'll see you tomorrow on Dynamite on TNT, and just constantly plugging back to Dynamite. And I think probably the joke that hit best for me in that commercial was Tony Khan says to Tony Schiavone, he goes, hey, Schiavone, you worked at TNA, didn't you? And Schiavone goes, yeah, I worked there for 1 day, and then I quit the business for 18 years.
I remember that. Oh my God, I laughed so hard.
But that's also doing a service to Impact, because they try to bury, obviously they show the best moments in TNA as far as like the wrestling and different things like that, but they really are trying to bury that brand into Impact Wrestling. So, all the while, of course, Moose is walking around with the TNA World Championship. But any help they can get burying, kind of what happened during the time that Schiavone was there, which was, of course, Vince Russo and Bruce Pritchard and Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan and Dixie Carter. So they're just trying to move past that. And, obviously Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone are happy to oblige them there with a really great joke. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of like your 80s style, 90s style, early 90s wrestling commercial. Is really what it felt like. Felt like a territory commercial, and I think that's kind of what they were looking to go for there.
I freaking loved it. Tony Khan looked great. He delivered it great, and we don't really get to see much of Tony Khan from that behind the scenes from AEW. So I thought this was kind of nice to see, and I freaking popped with that joke. But yeah,
Real quick before we
Oh,
move on,
sure.
I did want to update here. So I got the official numbers for the Twitch streams from Impact Wrestling. So the Twitch channel peaked at 55,396 viewers and averaged 42,953 viewers for the 2-hour show's duration, which was good enough for Impact having the fourth largest stream of the day. And it went head to head with an NFL game that started at 8 p.m. as well. And Impact crushed it. The NFL game barely got over 30,000 average. So about 13,000 more average viewers on Impact than an NFL football game on Twitch, which is
insane.
I think we can point to Kenny Omega as the draw, although Sami Callihan, of course, has started calling himself the draw. I think I'd put my money behind Kenny Omega before Sami, but I did want to give those, because I'm sure the people listening to this going like, those aren't the exact numbers. So those are the exact numbers as reported by Impact Wrestling.
And that's so awesome. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, their usual stream number on Tuesday nights for their live show is around 2,500. So imagine that's such an astronomical jump. And yes, Kenny Omega is a draw, but I also want to say the opportunity of these two companies working together has got to be the biggest peak interest and draw in my eyes. Having Kenny just be there as a one-off is exciting to me, but as a fan of wrestling, what piqued my interest most was the fact that we can see all these potential matches. We can see these two companies working together, because we've been so kind of brainwashed to believe that that's not possible.
Right.
That there's only one, and that if there's only one, the other ones can't work together, and everyone has to compete with each other. No, we've seen it to where it works. We've seen the independents work together, and this is just such an exciting thing to see. Hey, these two well-known and established companies that have TV time can work together, and I think that to me is the biggest interest. I love Kenny Omega and all, but that to me I feel is the big thing. But yeah, I mean, everyone's excited and everyone's interesting. And actually, I did note on my things here where the numbers were for the night, so I'll keep you updated as kind of where the numbers went throughout the night. And of course, towards the end is when we saw the big peak numbers compared to when they started out.
And it did kind of leak out. Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful did kind of leak out that Omega would be at the very end of the show in the last 15 minutes. So that's obviously why you see a spike there. But I think that the average viewer shows that they did. They kept a pretty good number going through it. And we'll talk more Kenny Omega towards the end of reviewing this episode of Impact for sure.
Awesome. So if we move right along, we have Brian Myers versus TJP, and I think this is where I texted you, and I was like, wait, did I text you? Who did I text? I don't know. I was very excited. I was thinking, hey, this is actually pretty smart that they're using these talents that we saw in WWE before. For the fan that maybe hasn't been watching Impact Wrestling for a while, and they'll say, hey, you know what? I remember that Brian Myers guy, or hey, that's TJP. That used to be my favorite cruiserweight champion, and I haven't seen him in a while. And getting to see what they've been up to, that they're still able to showcase their talent in Impact, and that hey, Impact's not just bullshit anymore. They have good talent people. There's good matches here. So I thought immediately that's okay, that's a good way to kind of keep people interested, I guess, and to see what's going on with Impact.
Sure, a couple familiar faces.
Absolutely.
I'll note that there was 14 wrestlers that competed in matches on Tuesday. 6 of them are former WWE contracted performers. So, including Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly. Kimberly had a smaller stint there. I think she was only on TV once or twice, but yeah, I mean, quite a bit of use here of WWE people, but in a wise way, and they're obviously talented wrestlers, and we'll get into that here with Brian Myers and TJP.
Hell yeah, this was a great match. So, we've seen the story kind of pick up too. Myers has been calling TJP and Crazy Steve clowns and losers for the past few weeks because they just can't get one over on my man, Rohit Raju. I do want to note at this point, I noted it was close to 40,000 streams. So this is where the numbers were kind of like settling in and rising towards the night. But yeah, like I mentioned, this was a great match. Of course, TJP and Brian Myers, they can work. We've seen them go at it and put in these amazing matches. And like I mentioned, it's just so good to see these guys from WWE and knowing that we can watch them on Impact. So Brian Myers at the end does pick up the win against TJP. TJP was working the leg of Myers, and they kind of had the storyline here. But he does pick up the win towards the end there. And of course, after the match, we do see Rohit Raju completely mocking TJP. But he has, TJP. The thing here is like he can't challenge Rohit Raju for the X Division Championship. So I'm kind of wondering how this is all going to pay off because he has something up his sleeve. And I think I saw something on Twitter that he had this character before that he used to go by where he wore a mask or something. Do you recall that character by
So
any chance?
TJP did used to wrestle as a masked wrestler, and I'm going to tell you his name in just a moment. His I want to say
I can't remember for the life of me. But he's up to something, and who knows if it's bringing that character back.
yeah. I mean, he's wrestled as Suicide previously.
But he wouldn't win it as Suicide, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. Let's see. I mean, he was known as Puma for a while, not to be confused with Ricochet's Prince Puma, of course.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, what?
Right, yeah. Nope, two very different guys. Yeah, it's escaping me what other else he could have been if not Puma. I don't know that he would use Puma, but he does have some other names that he's wrestled as before. And like mentioned, he's also wrestled as Suicide, and it could be something as stupid as, well, his official name is TJP in Impact. Well, he could just wrestle as TJ Perkins because Scott D'Amore said anyone with the name TJP can't challenge. So that leaves the door open there for some, kind of wrestling silliness if you really want to just, be lazy with it. But we'll see. Maybe he just cooks up something completely new. Who knows?
I would be so upset. I feel like I honestly hope that he either changes his name, does a completely different character, puts on a mask, whatever, and then Rohit Raju still defeats him. I'm crossing my fingers because I swear to God, if I take this title off of this man, I will riot, as they say, whenever something that you don't like happens.
Well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, this was a really good match. Like you said, TJP, of course, showed off his submission moves, really working the legs, really showing, again, two former WWE guys going out there having a really good technical wrestling match. Showcased most of their moves. TJP, of course, went for the Mamba Splash. Brian Myers puts his knees up and then eventually hits him with that clothesline that he's been using as a finisher. Which, it looks like it's a pretty brutal looking clothesline. So, it sells well.
Brutal.
I'm normally not one that, if you're going to do a clothesline finisher, it has to look good and it has to feel like it's a lot. Like you're talking, Okada using the Rainmaker. Nobody else in Japan should ever use a clothesline lariat for their finisher because it'll never look as good as Okada's. Brian Myers is obviously a little different. It's kind of a running clothesline, but still, it looks good. It looks painful. I liked it. Great match, and a really good one to have on this night. Like you said, with all these extra viewers on there.
Hell yeah. And of course, during this, I did want to know they did show another TNA Greatest moment. It was a hardcore moment between the Motor City Machine Guns versus Generation Me. They showed another one between these two tag teams last week, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, Generation Me being the Young Bucks. So of course, a great moment. And I think it's again just to show, hey, this is where the Young Bucks came from. So they're your favorite tag team in AEW. Well, here you go. They were an Impact. And I thought that was smart, but they did a lot of them.
Yeah, no, and they seem to do that when they do the flashback moments of the week that are on the Access feed, right? So they only do one of those on the Access feed, whereas on Twitch they kind of have more leeway there because they're not showing the same commercials that Access is. Um,
Yeah.
so it's yeah, Generation Me, they like to show those. Um, great to use those, especially with the AEW stuff going on. In the past, when they've been alluding to AJ Styles or whatever in that storyline, you'll see AJ Styles pop up in the flashback moment of the week. Um, so they definitely know what they've had in the past, and they're not afraid to show it. So, but like you said, it kind of harkens to a time where now we're kind of starting to talk about, like, oh yeah, these guys were here. These guys, it is okay to talk about it. So we'll see kind of how that continues to go. But I think we have another backstage segment here before we get to Eric Young and Cody Deaner, which I'm sure you're probably dying to get to. Um,
I actually missed it. I don't have it in my notes. What happened?
all I remember in between those is I think this might be the point where Tommy Dreamer is backstage with Larry D, and he
Oh,
makes
I have that after the EY and Cody Deaner match.
Is it okay? Well, I brought it up, so we'll talk about it now. My good friend Tommy Dreamer. He didn't tell me that he was
Best
going to
friend.
be. He didn't tell me ahead of time through Twitter DM like he has in the past. That he was going to be challenging Larry D to a wrestling match. And this is it's some kind of funny back and forth because Larry D is, of course, refusing to go downtown, as they keep saying, for the attempted murder of Johnny Bravo. And he he eventually gets to the point where Tommy just says, or Larry suggests that, okay, fine, we'll just have let's have a match at Final Resolution, and if I win, then you let me go walk as a free man, and if you win, I'll go downtown with you. And Tommy Dreamer goes, yep, fine by me. Wrestling match made. And Larry D goes, wait, I can get away with shooting somebody if I just want a wrestling match? And it's just, and Tommy Dreamer was like, I could do
Like, Tommy, you
whatever.
can do that?
Tommy Dreamer was like, I could do whatever the hell I want.
I
And
laughed so hard.
Larry D and AC Romero are just like, all right, I mean, I guess that's it.
This was so funny. Oh, they
Great,
delivered it perfectly.
great humor as always from Tommy Dreamer. Continuing to find ways to put himself over, and I talk about it every week, and I'll continue to. But then,
I love it.
the other backstage segment before this match was, of course, Cody Deaner talking with Cousin Jake. He tells Cousin Jake, "This is a personal thing. It's not a we thing. It's a me thing. I have to go out there and show Eric Young that I'm not, nothing. I'm a somebody." And Cousin Jake's like, "Well, I'm going to go out there with you." And he's like, "No, you're not going out there with me. I got to do this by myself." And he's like, dude, he's going to have Joe Doring out there. You need me to at least, get your back." Finally, he agrees and says, "But you have to promise not to get involved." Anyways, so then they, whatever. They go out to the ring. They have a match. Eric Young gets about 90% of the offense in. There was a couple of spots that Cody, had his moments of heart, where he was screaming that I'm not nothing and, charging at Eric Young, getting a couple of hits in. But ultimately, of course, he goes up to do a diving headbutt to Eric Young. Joe Doring distracts him, takes up a lot of time. Cody then goes to do the diving headbutt. And I swear that Eric Young rolled out of the way before Cody Deaner even began to jump, because like Eric Young was like
Right?
past the middle of the ring by the time Cody Deaner's face hit it.
He was
So
a mile away. Like, bro,
it
you didn't
was
have to jump to
nowhere
that headbutt if
close.
he's not in the middle of the ring. Like,
Nowhere close. Nowhere close. It's like playing a wrestling video
Right.
game back when they wouldn't let you cancel your move. Like you push the button and your guy would get into position and then do the
Oh,
move, but he wasn't there anymore. Like that's what it felt, very
yeah.
disjointed like that.
You had
And
to
of
do it
course,
anyway. It's like, fuck, I
right,
can't get down.
exactly. You can't hit the B button and cancel. But then, of
Yeah.
course, Eric Young hits the pile driver, and is well established on Impact Wrestling. Damn near nobody kicks out of an Eric Young pile driver, which is as it always is, a thing of beauty. And even though this match wasn't that great, Eric Young's pile driver gets my hashtag chef's kiss of the night. Mwah.
Mwah.
So, but yeah, I mean, of course, normal shenanigans afterwards, some beatdowns, eventually, Rhino with a steel pipe comes out from the back and chases off
For the save.
Eric Young and Joe Doring. And Rhino keeps on trying to tell them, like, no, man, you're not pulling that shit here. Like, that's not what's going to happen. And they've beaten him up several times. And, Rhino finally showing some intelligence and bringing a weapon with him, at least to the ring. I don't know that a lead pipe would be kind of what I would bring. It's a little bit harder to swing around maybe than a kendo stick or a baseball bat or something. I don't know.
It's more effective, Josh.
It's certainly
metal.
more. I mean, if it connects, that thing's going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, Joe
I
Doring
think
still.
this is cool, teasing the possibility of a Joe versus Rhino, or even because I think Joe Dory, my accent is out of control sometimes. I think he was actually more pissed that Rhino got in there. EY was holding him back a little bit. But
Right.
I think we are seeing, if I'm not mistaken, we're seeing EY and Rhino, correct? Or am I just
That is
dreaming and making
happening.
things up?
That is happening at Final Resolution, and we will preview
Okay.
that match later. Yes. Mhm.
Okay, gotcha. But I really think down the road, the big thing is going to be Joe, Dory, and Rhino, and I'm going to put money on it. So, Josh, how much you bet?
I'm not betting you on that because it's definitely going to happen. Joe Doring is definitely going to get a match. Whenever he gets his first official match, it is going to be someone that's established that he beats up probably, but not like overly so. It's like a Rhino makes sense. A Tommy Dreamer makes sense. Like somebody along those lines for him to just go and beat the piss out of, who like that person is established as someone that's been in the business forever and everyone knows what they can do, but losing doesn't hurt them. Like Tommy Dreamer can lose every match from now until the rest of his career and it won't do a thing to him. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so same with Rhino. I mean, either way. But yeah, we are going to get something out of there. I took one of the backstage things after this match and put it in front of this match. Do we have anything else backstage after this match, Sandy, in your notes? I think this might be where Alicia and Tennille talk. But
That's it. I had that way after. So
I'm just all over the place. Okay, so you just all right. Whatever
and
you
I
got.
did it in order.
All right, whatever you got next, go ahead and start. It'll refresh me.
So I wanted to note down. So one of the flashback things from TNA Impact was the greatest betrayal, and it shows Bully Ray betraying Hulk Hogan to become the TNA champ. This was a long segment that they showed on the Twitch stream, and I kind of thought about it like, okay, so they've been showing a lot of AEW guys, and to kind of show like, hey, this is where they came from, but could this possibly be another kind of premonition? Is Bully Ray, are we going to be working with Bully Ray and Ring of Honor too, and this and turn it into like a trifecta of promotions working together? I just thought it was interesting. I was like, oh, that kind of puts some thoughts into people's minds, showing this Bully Ray clip, but hopefully it's not the other way where they bring Hulk Hogan and I'll be like, God dang it. But I think he's just in WWE for life. Let's leave him there and hidden away from people.
Yeah, it's worth not wanting to see Hulk Hogan anywhere. But Bully Ray presently is no longer with Ring of Honor, I believe. So I don't think he's anywhere. I could be wrong on that, but I'm fairly certain earlier this year he was let go. Yeah, April 1st, 2020, he left Ring of Honor when his contract expired. So, yeah, so he is currently
unemployed. Could he be coming back to Impact? Who knows?
Well, I hope not on that either, personally. But, we'll see what happens with old Bully Ray. Hopefully nothing. And hopefully nothing with our old friend, current enemy, Terry Bollea. Because I don't even want to use his kayfabe name. He's just Terry around these parts.
Yeah,
For those listening, we do not worship the ground that Hulk Hogan walks on in the Clearwater, Tampa area, because we all know him. Most of us have a story of him being an ass, and that's just it. He's just Terry Bollea, and he sucks. So, But back to Impact.
And that's that on Hulk Hogan. Um, we have another backstage segment. So this is interesting. Tommy Dreamer actually approaches Scott D'Amore in the back.
Oh,
He
yes.
has
Mhm.
concerns about Kenny and Don Callis being here. He says, Don is always doing things just thinking about himself. He doesn't think about the locker room. They don't care about the locker room. They don't care about Impact's interest. And Scott wants, of course, nothing to do with it because it's great for business having all these eyes on Impact from thanks to Kenny and thanks to AEW. One of the big things from this one was actually pretty funny. So Scott D'Amore tells Tommy, he's like, even Lance Storm thinks this is a good idea, and he's never happy about anything. I laughed so hard because
That was
just a few
awesome.
minutes earlier, I saw the tweet from Lance. I do follow Lance Storm on Twitter because he's one of my favorites. So underrated. Lance had literally just tweeted about how he popped for the Tony Khan paid ad, and so for them to bring that into this, which was it's kind of interesting. When did they record this? Because he had just tweeted about it, unless they talked about him tweeting it before.
I think he had talked about it previously, about the Kenny Omega stuff previously. But yeah, I don't believe they. So I think they recorded the Kenny Omega segments after the fact. So they brought Tommy back. They brought Rich Swann back for the part at the end of the show. But really, I mean, you look at how many people were actually involved in the Kenny Omega recordings. It was Scott, Tommy, Rich, Josh Matthews, Don Callis, Kenny Omega, and then the random extra that they had pretending to be a door guard. So that's only 7 people that they had for filming those segments. I believe that was shot after the fact.
Okay, that would make sense because I just blew my mind just now. I was like, wait a minute, this is taped, and Lance had just tweeted it, and my eyes just kind of went like cross-eyed trying to figure out how they did it.
But no, that was a really good joke. I thought it was funny because Lance is known as a pretty serious, stone-faced kind of guy. So
I love him.
No, that was great. Awesome segment with Scott D'Amore and Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see. Like, I wonder why Tommy would think, hey, what? This kind of throws a little something into the movement of things. We have Tommy Jr. who's concerned. Why are you concerned? Yeah, Don Callis is doing things selfishly, and of course, he's a heel now with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's a heel. They're doing this for themselves. So it's kind of interesting to put that into the worst of the storyline that we have yet to see where it's going to go, but are interested to see and find out.
Absolutely.
But anyways, we move forward, and we have Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly against Rosemary and Taya. So this will be for the Women's Knockouts Tag Team Tournament, which we have been so amazing so far. We are very excited to see who the brand new champions will be at the beginning of next year. So this was one of the ones I was looking forward to. I had a feeling going up prior to the match that Rosemary and Taya were going to move forward. They've been established as a tag team for a little bit longer than Deonna and Kimberly have. And of course, putting that pressure on Deonna to being the current women's champion, I was like, okay, no, this will be a good for them to exit. But this was a great match. We had during the very beginning of the match, more towards the middle, they had about 43,000 streams. I noted on here.
No, that's awesome.
But what did you think about this match?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you listen to the show, you know that like Taya's one of my favorite female wrestlers. To me, she can literally do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. I did want to point out that she had a new ring gear entrance gear look, and she actually she called it Mountain Dew Realness is what she called it on Instagram. I thought it was funny, so I just wanted to make sure to go back and make sure that I captured that because it was a very bright green entrance gear ring gear combination. But no, Taya's great. I'm interested. Rosemary is someone that's been around. She's obviously done a lot of work for Impact. She's done a lot of the the undead stuff, the demons and the underworld and all that stuff. But I think she's a pretty underrated worker in the ring. It'll be interesting to see if we do continue to see, and we'll talk about this obviously later. where if they decide, to do some crossover matches, maybe she locks horns with another supernatural style character over in AEW. Not that I'm asking for that match, but that's something that could happen, I suppose. But yeah, no, I mean, you noted, they worked Deanna kind of having the distraction of Su Yung and being the Knockouts champion in the back of her mind, kind of as a distraction. And then, of course, Rosemary gets the pin on Kimberly with that kind of wing clipper style, almost like it's kind of like a backpack stunner, but on the front. I don't know. I don't know what you call that, but I know like
I
Angel
have
Garza
no
calls it.
freaking
I think
idea.
Angel Garza calls it the wing clipper. I think that might be what it's
Oh,
called.
that's right.
But something along those lines. But either way, really good match. I was glad to see that the women got a pretty good amount of time here to work, despite kind of the busyness of the show. But yeah, I mean, what did you think here? Is this was this one of your favorite first round matches here in the tournament?
I loved it. Like you mentioned, I'm glad they had plenty of time to go. It didn't feel super rushed. They had time to kind of put everything together.
Yeah, they got
Deanna
about
teaching her
7 minutes till the
skills.
bell.
Okay, yeah, that's well, yeah, that's all right. It always feels like it's longer for some reason. I don't know why. That 7 minutes sounds so short, but anyway, it was a great match. Deanna, she was teaching her submission skills. There was a really awesome spot where both teams are in the ring, and Taya and Kimber, they were throwing hands to each other after they ended up doing a couple of splits right next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So even before getting up from the splits, they're still in this dang split, which, by the way, I cannot do. And they're just throwing hands at each other. And I was like, brother, get up. Like, my hips were hurting just watching that. I thought the visual itself was pretty cool. I don't think I've seen that before. Deanna does catch Kimberly accidentally with a super kick, which is when we see the spear from Rosemary taking her out. And so that protected her. She got taken out. She didn't get the pin on her. And one thing I hated their double down in their match. It was just from a couple of elbows between, I believe it was Taya and Kimberly.
Yes.
Who was in the double down. Right?
Yeah.
I hated that. It was just two elbows, and they were just down. And it was like, all right.
For fans of the Social Suplex Podcast Network, a double down is what we affectionately refer to as, of course, the James Boyd spot. Because James is absolutely not a fan of those spots. And I gotta be honest, I'm typically not either. Sometimes it makes sense, but this one seemed like it was kind of disjointed and out of time. Like the timing was off.
Yeah, it was off, and it was just weak. So we want to see something a little bit more devastating and impressive than just two elbows at the same time. It was one of the weaker double downs I've seen in a very long time, and I was like, oh, I do not like that.
Well, and they're
the
both
match,
super kickers, so I mean, it didn't make sense that an elbow. Why not do it? Why not do a super kick James Boyd spot? Like one does.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and they were just throwing elbows with each other before. And why are these two elbows different? I don't know. I'm not a fan. But the second half of the match did pick up, and it had really cool spots here, and the ending was perfect. I thought it was fun. It was a fun watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Toot.
All
and
right,
of course,
so
the
what do
girls
we got?
that I picked to win won.
So we have then Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie move on to the semifinals to face Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. And then, of course, on the other side, we have Havoc and Nevaeh taking on Jordan Grace and Jazz. So a couple of really good knockouts tag matches coming our way. I think they may both be next Tuesday. I know at least one is. And then, of course, we have the recrowning of the knockouts tag team champions at Hard to Kill. Next up, we have the backstage segment, I think, between Alicia Edwards and Tenille Dashwood. So Tenille has now decided to go she's kind of into doing the tag team with Alicia. And she's coming up with ideas. She's coming up with marketing. Caleb with a K is on board somehow. And Alicia now wants nothing to do with it. So it's kind of a funny role reversal. But, they are showing, Alicia cares more about what's going on with Eddie, more about the fact that, Sami Callihan keeps on trying to end his career. And so she's got, a bit of a bone to pick with Sami Callihan.
Yeah, which I think it's. I'm so confused. Why wouldn't Alicia just say, "Hey, Tennille, I just have some things to work on"? Because now I think we mentioned this earlier, or maybe not. This was before we even got on
Yeah,
the
before we
recording.
recorded.
Yeah, that they're going to have a match. We'll get to the preview on this, but it's going to be an intergender tag match between Tennille and Caleb with a K and the Edwards. So, okay, why are we escalating it already all the way up to having a match about this?
Right,
That kind of took
exactly.
me by surprise. I was like, whoa, that escalated. Like, what the hell?
I mean, I guess you could say,
So,
you can't scorn Tennille Dashwood and her, 35 million Instagram followers or whatever it is, right? So, yeah, it was kind of
yeah, I
a
guess.
kind of a weird escalation, but I thought it was a good spot. And correct me if I'm wrong, but now we transition to Sami Callihan in the ring, cutting a promo.
No, wrong again, Josh. Come on.
Listen, I said this week was crazy. You heard my introduction to this very podcast. I'm a little out of
Aw,
sorts, but that's what.
poor
Listen,
Josh.
I
I
don't
got
know.
you. I
I don't
got
know why
you.
I keep trying to guess your notes. But Sandy, please, you know what, Sandy? Here's the wheel. I'm sitting in the back of the car. You drive.
No, don't you dare. I don't know. I do want to mention, so TNA, another moment, the greatest promo. It is the infamous, most hilarious math promo from Scott
Steiner
Steiner,
math. Yeah.
Makers, 2008. I am so happy they played this because Logan and I were just laughing our asses off. It's been a while since I saw this video again, but the Steiner math, oh my God. The fact that, like, the way he gets so out of breath towards the end, he's literally gasped from his promo, and
Right.
it's just all the freaking math. Like, what are you talking about, bro? It is so funny.
If you've never seen Steiner math,
YouTube
please
right now.
pause our podcast, go to youtube.com and type in Steiner math. I promise
That's
you
all you
there'll
gotta
be
put.
about 4 million videos of it, and it's all the same. But definitely just click on the first one you see and just enjoy what is quite honestly, I mean, it's up there. Like, people talk about, like, the most infamous promos. You got, Andre turning on Hulk Hogan. You have Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. You have, I mean, just on and on and on. The pipe bomb promo with CM Punk, and always mentioned without a doubt is Steiner math. So please, if you've
Steiner
never
math.
listened to that, please go watch that video. It is well worth the
Uh.
3.5, 4 minutes, whatever it is that it is. It feels like 30 seconds because it is so much fun. Please go. Like, we're putting this over more than we've ever put anything over on this podcast. But it is an all-time
Real.
promo segment. Please, Steiner Mouth, go watch it.
So good. And you know what? I actually thought maybe they were going to do the Jay Lethal, Ric Flair woo face off, woo off, the woo off.
Yeah.
That was another really good one. If you haven't seen that one, I mean, everyone
That
has
is a
to
great
see
one.
the woo off. And that was an Impact. I don't know what year that was, but that could have been a greatest promo one too.
I'm sure it's
All right.
I'm sure it's in that.
Right, top 10. So before we get to the Sami Callihan thing, Josh, which you are getting way ahead of, we have Gianna. Right after her match, she goes backstage and approaches Scott D'Amore. I thought this segment was freaking great too. I love Scott D'Amore. So she goes off, saying there is just way too much on her plate. You have dead bitches running around, Su Yung, and the tag team tournament, and she's the women's champion. And she's just kind of throwing all her grievances out at Scott D'Amore, saying this isn't fair. I have too much on my plate. What are you doing? What am I doing here? So Scott D'Amore, being hilarious and the genius that he is, says, hey, you know what? You're absolutely right. But as we saw last week, the Su Yung problem is gone, and at least for the foreseeable future. And you just lost. You're out of the tag team tournament. So that frees up some time on your plate. So at Final Resolution, you will face off against Rosemary. And so he made it seem like, hey, yeah, no, actually, you have a lot of time on your plate now since you just
Right.
lost your match.
Congratulations, you lost.
So,
here's your time back.
Exactly. And he's like, so now you can only focus on your women's championship and you have a match. And of course that leaves her like, wait, what? So I love the way he kind of spins that on everybody. Everyone always goes to him like with all the grievances, and he's like, you're right, but then flips it so that they actually get the opposite of what they were asking for or complaining about. So I think that's hilarious. Her face, she was just like I wish you could see my face. She was just so like confused. Like, how did we get here? So
Well, you know what,
that was
Sandy?
so much preview.
I will say this: they will be able to see your face because right here, I will go in and I will clip this little segment, and it will go on the official 8-Bit Suplex TikTok. That's right.
You do
As if
not
you
have a
listened last
TikTok.
week, I do have the TikTok. I promise you, I
Shut
made the
up.
TikTok. I made the TikTok. She doesn't believe me, but go into your cellular device right now. If you go into TikTok, you can go and see our profile at 8-Bit Suplex. We have one follower, and it is a friend of the show, Dan Coffin. So, which I chose to show. I don't go into this thing ever. I probably should. I probably should put a video on there at some point, but Dan does follow, and I just followed him back with our official 8-Bit Suplex TikTok. It is there,
You
and
are so silly.
now when we make funny faces or we drop something or whatever, it's going on the TikTok. So don't even worry about it.
You put it on Twitter. My God.
Hey,
My
listen,
man.
man. Kids these days, they don't care about Twitter as much. They want the TikTok.
Oh my God. We're
I
old,
know.
man.
Yeah, I
Can't be
know.
on TikTok.
We're in our 30s. We don't know what's going on. we're,
No.
we're light years beyond what's cool.
I sure as shit don't have a TikTok. Mm-mm.
I had one. I don't know what the login is anymore, but I know what the login is for the 8-Bit Suplex official TikTok. Go follow it at 8-Bit Suplex. Back to what you were saying about Impact Wrestling, Sandy.
Sammy Callahan, you got it.
Yes, I'm finally here. I'm finally here.
You're caught up.
Yeah, I thought this was a really excellent promo actually from Sammy. I've said it time and time again. I think he's an excellent talent. He's great in the ring. He cuts pretty good promos. I absolutely hate the hacker gimmick,
Mm.
but I think it's a pretty good promo here. Until of course it's interrupted by Alicia Edwards. Alicia, talks some. He stops her before she talks. Says, "Hey, listen. Last time you were in here, you almost caught an Eric Young pile driver, but I'm not Eric Young. I show no mercy. I'm gonna break your freaking neck if you come in here." And I thought that was a little intense. And of course, Alicia drops the bomb that, "Hey, you know what? Guess what, buddy? I didn't
Not
come alone
alone.
this time. I learned my lesson. I didn't come alone." Cue, of course, Eddie Edwards attacking Sammy Callahan from behind, getting the jump on him, taking his bat away, yada yada. And Sammy eventually is able to escape out of the ring over the guardrail, and the Edwards get the drop. And it looks like they're going to be teaming up as we mentioned on Saturday, and we'll see if Alicia's closer to Eddie's side going forward. She doesn't really have a whole lot going on with the Knockouts division. She's not really a player in the title
No.
picture. She
Mm-mm.
got eliminated immediately from the tag team tournament. So we'll see, what kind of, if they want to keep Alicia on camera, which it does seem that they do, because she has been there a long time, and she is a solid worker for them. So give her some airtime, especially she's been there all COVID long. So keep putting her out there, give her something to do. I think being with her husband is uh, more than a good enough use. But what do you think of this
Yeah,
segment here, Sandy?
agreed. So exactly what you said. There's really no place. I don't want to say that. That sounds so mean. That there's no place for her in the knockouts division. But you're absolutely right. She's not a contender for the title for either, the tag or the main title. And there's no real other storylines that we're seeing here with the women. Yeah, this is the best. She's not bad on the mic. She shows up. She shows that intensity in her emotions, in her facials, and she can deliver an all right promo. So yeah, this could work. This is something. It's entertainment. I do want you to know that we're close to 46,000 live streams at Twitch right now for this segment at this part of the episode. But yeah, that was it. We have another TNA greatest moment. This time it's the greatest hardcore moment featuring LAX, which we know now from the Inner Circle. And
Yep, Proud and Powerful, Santana and her face.
yes, Proud and Powerful. I couldn't remember that. We have Penta and Phoenix, and this is their match at Rebellion 2019, which is one of the greatest freaking. Those two teams, when they went at it in Impact, was so much fun.
Yeah, if you have time on your hands, definitely go into Impact Plus, and go back and watch every single match of theirs that you can find. They are, I mean, they're two of the best tag teams in the world, and they definitely are two of the tag teams that are not afraid to take bumps and really nasty hits, all for our entertainment. And I am sports entertained every time I watch either of those tag teams go at it. Um, and I think Ray Phoenix is probably top five in the world wrestler right now, period.
Dude, hell yeah.
Um, so, the fact that he continues to tag with his brother, super cool. Not that Penta's, he's no slouch. So they are, I mean, the Lucha Bros might be my favorite tag team, is what I'm getting at right now in the world. So we'll see kind of, if maybe they show back up on Impact. Obviously they have history there. So that would be pretty cool if they did, as we kind of
Oh,
look
yeah.
forward with what's going to happen. We're not quite there yet.
We're almost there.
We have a main event. I think the main event's next after that Sami Callihan promo. I don't think we see anything else, right?
You're technically right.
Okay.
We just see technically though. So they do go backstage one more time where we see Eddie being all hyped and he has all this energy and what's it called, that adrenaline after facing off Sami. But Alicia kind of calms down and says, "Now it's time to take care of my problem." With
Right.
question mark. Then we find out, of course, that's going to be facing Tenille and Kayla with a K, which this is the part that we're like, okay, that escalated. Why does she want to fight Tenille now? All Tenille did was get hyped about them being a tag team. So
Right.
that escalated. But that was it. And now we do have the main event. Go ahead.
And we have the main event. And this was, I think, an awesome showcase of some of the top talent that Impact has. It's a main event that they put out there knowing that there'd be extra eyes out there to see Kenny Omega right after this. It's 4 black men, which is not typical of a lot of the wrestling promotions that we see around here. I do want to call that out. That is an awesome moment. It is something that it shouldn't have to be called out because it just hasn't happened, right? So awesome job out of those 4 guys. They worked their asses off. Hell of a match. And we mentioned earlier at the top of the show, Chris Bay and Moose. It was a kind of tumultuous tag team situation. Every time Moose tagged Chris Bay in, he'd chop him to tag him in. And, I think Josh Matthews in commentary, or no, Madison Rain on commentary is like, listen, if my tag team partner kept on chopping me in the chest to tag in, I'd just leave. So, what are the funnier moments from Madison
true.
there? I mean, I've not taken too many chops in my life. I'm sure you've taken a few more than I have, Sandy. I don't know that I would be tagging in and out that way or agree to, especially with a man the size of Moose delivering the chops.
No.
So, but yeah, no, excellent match. All these guys hit their spots, showed great athleticism all around. And then ultimately, Chris Bay and Moose get the win, leading into final resolution for Chris Bay's title shot against Rich Swann.
So this match, I wanted to say I got blown up just watching the little bit of the shine sequence in the very beginning. We had Chris Bay and Rich Swann doing the flippy dippy shit in the very beginning, and they're chain wrestling, getting in and out of things, and holy shit, it was fucking beautiful and perfect.
It was awesome.
But I was watching it, but I was literally like, I'm out of breath just watching these. Like, take it home. And that was just the very beginning. So that was really funny. We see some, I very sarcastically say tag team offense by Moose, where he throws poor Bay into Willie Mack.
Right. He kind of power bombs him.
It was ridiculous. It was like a head scissor from Rich Swann to Bay, which sent him off to Moose's body in the center of the ring too. Yeah. That was really cool. It was amazing action, except for Moose at this very exact moment until he comes in to deliver the crazy elbows again to Willie Mack. He just wants to annihilate this poor man. He's just going in there and the ref is saying, stop, and he just won't get off poor Willie Mack. So Swann came in with the save, and like you mentioned, Bay picks up the win heading into final resolution this Saturday night. At this point, the stream reaches 50,000 viewers watching live on Twitch. And before we get to the main event, which as we all know is Kenny Omega with Don Callis being interviewed by Josh Matthews, we do see finally what I was waiting for, which was, actually, no, this was before. Dang, this was during the match. TNA Greatest Knockouts Moments, which featured Gail Kim and Awesome Kong. A final resolution. I was waiting for it. It's like, when are they going to show my girl, Gail Kim? Because she, as everyone knows, is one, if not the, no, she has to be the greatest knockout in Impact history. That division is hers, and the feud that she had with Awesome Kong was one of my favorites. I wasn't a person that was watching Impact religiously back then, but I made sure to watch Gail Kim and Awesome Kong because that was my favorite, one of my favorite feuds. And then at the end, we do see the TNA Greatest Returns, which was Sting at Final Resolution as well. So lots of things being hinted at here. We did see Awesome Kong in AEW, Sting now back in AEW. Lots of those videos and memories from, hey, they all came through Impact. So that was a very smart thing to do for the viewers on Twitch.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then we do see Rich Swann
Poor Rich.
trying to leave the building. He gets stopped at the door by what could only be described as my ugly cousin. Tells him, listen, your name's not on the list. You can't go out there. He's like, dude, it's the parking lot. What are you talking about? No, the champion has that all blocked off. He says, dude, I'm the champion. He goes, no, man, Kenny Omega's out there. The AEW champion? Kind of like, haven't you ever heard of him? What are you, an idiot? And then he's just kind of standing there. And then Josh Matthews walks by. Josh Matthews. Oh, yeah, go ahead. It's just like, what a nerdy moment for Josh Matthews to kind of walk through there at that point. And then, of course, Rich Swann's left hanging, and we go to the tour bus. Before we get to that, I do want to just pause very quickly for a brief, what do they used to say on the radio? Station identification. So we're just going to pause real quick for that.
Zenni's blocks lenses help to protect the eyes by keeping harmful blue light out. Because they're virtually clear, add blocks to any Zenni frame for stylish, all-day protection. Get a complete pair of prescription or non-prescription blocks glasses starting at just $24. Protect your eyes now at Zenni.com.
Who are you texting?
My therapist.
You text with your therapist?
Text, video chat, call. Yep.
That sounds too easy. How did you find her?
I just went to betterhelp.com/save. She's a licensed therapist and it's all online. I connect when it's convenient for me and don't waste time driving anywhere. Plus, it's affordable.
I wonder if I should try it.
It's great to talk to someone in confidence. She's helped me sort out quite a few things. And right now you save 10% off the first month when you go through betterhelp.com/save.
Betterhelp.com/save. Got it.
Okay, and we're back from the station identification. Hopefully whatever ad that's in there, I don't know. We have automatic ads. I have to give a mid-roll. So that's why we pause for station identification. I hope whatever ad that is, you buy lots of it and use whatever code they say to use. So yeah, definitely we get to a very exciting moment in wrestling history where we're kind of seeing, at least what we hoped we were seeing, is the kind of rebirth of almost the territories, where you could see guys from other companies showing up on other companies. You and I are too young to remember the territory days. They happened before we were born. But as I understand it, you could see Ric Flair show up with the NWA title at any given promotion for a weekend. He'd go and have 2 or 3 title matches. He might lose it while he's there, but he'll win it back before he gets back on the road and heads to the next thing, right? So we could see programs like this in this modern era start to kind of develop that way. But before we get too far into projections here, I do want to talk about the actual interview itself, because it, of course, as most wrestling interviews, it eventually just turns into a full-on promo. There's been a lot of criticism of Kenny Omega's ability to give promos in the past. That is kind of his one weakness, right? No weaknesses in the ring. Best bout machine. Guy can go out there 45 minutes, hour long, have 7-star Kenny, right? And then the one thing that everyone's always said, he's not really that good of a promo. He kind of does these goofy, kind of stylized promos. And I think that is a fair criticism. But let me say that should be a criticism no more. Um, because the promo that he and Don Callis cut is absolutely incredible. I loved every second of it. It never felt like there was a pause. It was just constant beats, just boom, 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 and it was absolutely awesome. Before we get into details, Sandy, what did you think overall about the promo?
It was so. I actually thought that Don Callis was talking a little too much in the very beginning, but when Kenny was actually delivering his lines, it felt very natural. I have never really thought that he was, the worst promo. He's not. He has a way that he talks, and I feel like that's just him. It's not him trying to be anything different or special. It's just the way he talks, And sometimes, that's what people sound like. But
Right, he's still at the
I
end of
don't
the day.
know.
He's a nerdy kid from Winnipeg, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and maybe he's not an actor, because I feel like a lot of the whole promo thing, you have to get into being someone else. And right now we're seeing that heel Kenny Omega character come back, and it's been a while for him. The cleaner I thought was so amazing in New Japan, but God, I thought he was great here. They made their point across. They had the story that they were trying to tell. You had Don Callis, who is a great speaker. He's a great promo. Of course, we heard him on commentary. I absolutely loved him. Loved him when he was doing the Killing the Town podcast with Lance Storm. That was my favorite podcast to listen to back then. I could hear the man talk all the time. But for this particular moment, we were just so excited to hear from Kenny Omega that I feel like Don Callis kind of took over that a little too much in the beginning. But he was telling the story of, hey, how do we get to this point? Which he did, He said he didn't come back to the business just to be in a podcast. He didn't come in just to be a color commentary in New Japan. He did it to make history today with Kenny Omega, and it was all a part of the plan. And also it was all part of the plan for how Kenny was kind of came all the way up to AEW and become the champion. And we do get into, why are they here? That's what we all wanted to know. What's going on?
Right.
They just said, well, because they can.
Yeah, basically, essentially, and Kenny relates what he wants to do to collecting comic books. Okay, he's like, I got my Superman #1, right? That's the AEW title, and I think you would say Captain America #1 or something like that, and that's the AAA title, which of course he is defending. We're recording this on Friday night, Saturday night, so tomorrow night he'll be defending that against Laredo Kid. Which I think everyone assumed was going to be a spot where Kenny was going to drop the belt back. That does not feel likely now.
Yeah.
But then he said, hey, I'd love to add a Spider-Man #1 to my collection, and maybe that's the Impact Championship. But at the end of the day, I want to be a collector, and so it sounds like he is pushing himself to be the collector, the big. I'm going to go into every territory and take their title from them, which is an interesting thought. I mean, I don't think anybody's thought of that being possible in years, period. I mean, it just didn't happen. Not since Ultimo Dragon had, I think, 9 titles, right? So we're kind of, we'll see where this goes. As far as that collection aspect of it. But like you said, they hit at their points. I think it was probably about like 10 or 11 minutes long, maybe a little longer on the promo. A lot of information. They say, hey, look, we're going to be on Dynamite tomorrow. We got more news. We got more things to share with you. That turned out to be kind of not true. It was kind of the exact same promo.
Not true at all.
It was kind of the exact same promo that they cut on Impact. And by exact same, I do mean exact same promo. Most of the words were the same. But the thing that they were really trying to put over was that they, some people have, matches, some people make money. But Kenny Omega and Don Callis, they make history. And making history once is nearly impossible, but nobody makes history twice like Kenny Omega and Don Callis just did. They took credit for AEW's existence because they used a quote from Tony Khan saying that had Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega not had the match at the Tokyo Dome, that he would never have tried to make AEW. So basically Kenny for the first time is publicly acknowledging the things that people have said about him and kind of using this as a chance for his character to boast while also talking about the things that he actually did accomplish. I mean, he's a guy that has been pretty humble, at least in the public eye, about what he's accomplished in the wrestling business. And so it's kind of nice to see his heel character be like, I'm going to tell you every single thing that I did, and you're going to hear about it. And it feels like he's going to go out there now and kind of be the world beater that he was always destined to be. The cleaner, the collector, the whatever you want to call him, the real world champion or something along those lines, and being managed by Don Callis all the way.
Yeah, well, we'll hopefully see that. And like I mentioned for the very beginning of this podcast, I was thinking, hey, the biggest draw and the biggest interest here is how the two companies can interact with one another, not just with Kenny Omega, but also with the rest of the talent. And unfortunately, we haven't received the answer, not from the Impact episode and not from the AEW Dynamite episode, unfortunately. They did the same exact promo. They're pretty much telling us in a very wrestling promo type of way that, hey, this is the story as to why Kenny Omega and Don Callis are doing this. They didn't tell us what that means for the companies as AEW and Impact. What this means for them because we're in a smart age of wrestling fans. We're just not going to believe that it's the story here. We want to know the logistics of it. Is AEW buying Impact? Is there if not, then how are they working together? How is this going to work for their talent? How is this going to go for their titles? Is only the AEW Men's World Championship going to be defended at Impact pay-per-views? Or is it going to be all of the titles? Can Impact titles be defended at AEW Dynamite? There's so many unanswered questions. And I got annoyed after watching Dynamite because they said before they cut off the stream on Impact that they were 24 hours away from a big announcement on AEW. And they gave us nothing.
Nothing, yeah. But you know what? Smart business out of them because it works a little bit of heat for them. But it also got people to tune into Dynamite the next night. Make sure you come in for Dynamite the next night. It was some old school, straight up, territory Carney level finessing. We got finessed, Sandy. I mean, there's no way, we got finessed, we got worse. Any way you want to say it, we got it.
Man.
But you know what? That's okay.
I'm so salty about it, if you can tell.
That's
I'm like
okay.
over here looking
That's
at things in the distance, like, man.
So, of course, that led to everyone on the internet being like, well, see, I guess that's over now. I mean, we're not going to see Kenny on Impact anymore. And then, out of the blue, we find out Kenny's going to be on Impact again next week. And then there's some reporting from Dave Meltzer that comes out that not only is Kenny going to be on Impact Tuesday, but he's also going to be a part of Impact pay-per-views. Use the pluralization of that. So at least some Impact pay-per-view shows is the phrasing that Meltzer used. So listen, some take Dave at his word. Some are scrutinizing Dave every chance they get. Dave is really connected in with Tony Khan in AEW. So I trust 100% what he's reporting around AEW because they're not going to feed him false stuff. They're not going to feed him, anything like that, right? So we'll have to see kind of what that looks like. But with that being possible, is it just Kenny Omega? That's great still. But we wanted to talk about, well, what if it's everyone? What if AEW and Impact start mixing it up some? And because we've seen AEW obviously mix it up a little bit with NWA, specifically with their women's division. Like, for example, the NWA title is currently held by Serena Deeb, who is contracted at AEW. Thunder Rosa obviously has worked several matches, still involved in storyline there. Allison Kay came in and worked a match. She's an NWA talent as well. So we'll see kind of how that continues to develop there. Impact has relationships with ROH and New Japan and, different things there. Obviously, TJP and Chris Bay are headed over to the Super J-Cup, so they might not be involved in any of the Kenny stuff, at least not right away. So I guess my thing is, Sandy, like, what's a couple of matches that, and they don't even necessarily have to be title matches, but let's say, like, what's a Kenny Omega match that you want to see between him and someone on the Impact roster? And then what's maybe, let's say, like 2 or 3 other matches that you want to see when you talk about combining those rosters?
Yeah, man. Right off the bat, I'm thinking Ken Shamrock and Kenny Omega can go. You guys should have seen Josh's face.
Yeah, that's.
Oh my God.
That's going on the TikTok because that's. Oh my God.
I just gave Josh an aneurysm, you guys.
I'm in so much pain right now.
I'm so sorry.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Oh.
All right. We're through with
Did
that.
I make you
Okay.
cry?
No tears. No tears. Just pain.
Could you imagine? Hold on. Just imagine that for a second.
I mean, hey, listen, if we're talking about Ken Shamrock, the only person close to his age in AEW right now is Sting. Might as well throw that out there.
Holy shit. Yeah, right? Could you wait, have they gone before?
No. They may have it. They may have it TNA back in the day. I'd have to look.
So one of the ones I'd be stoked to see, of course, we had the little tease that it could be maybe champion versus champion, Rich Swann and Kenny Omega. That'd be a hell of a match that I don't think we've seen before. But to me, actually, what about Kenny Omega and Brian Myers? What do you think about that one?
That would be fun. I think, I don't know that Brian is able to go at the speed and endurance level that Kenny would be going at. I
absolutely can.
Well, maybe. I mean, I don't know that we'll get to see that one, but that's one that's fun to think about.
That'd be fun.
It would be. It would be. For me,
you throw me one.
I would personally, because I'm thinking about, okay, who's someone that spent a lot of time at Impact and was really earned the ability to challenge Kenny Omega to get those extra eyeballs, right? And I don't want it to be, it's not an Eric Young, right? I don't want an older guy to do it. I don't want it to be someone that's not in the title picture ever at Impact, because that doesn't really, to me, that doesn't kind of go along with what that weight of that match would carry. But for me, like, I would love to see, because this guy also worked in Japan at Noah, going through their system, is Eddie Edwards. I think Eddie Edwards could work a pretty good match with Kenny Omega. And then, there's the obvious choices of, Rich Swann, Chris Bay. I'm sure TJP would have a very good match with Kenny Omega also. I know I just rattled off 4 of them, but if I had to choose just one, I'd say, hey, listen, put the Impact belt on Eddie Edwards and have him wrestle Kenny Omega at Hard to Kill. I think that'd be a really fun main event there. That'd
be a great match, absolutely. But so we're both so cold on Eddie Edwards, though, so that's why I didn't put it on there. But he's also another great freaking worker, and I mean, everything he does is so solid. But like him, the actual Eddie Edwards, it's like so cold on him. So that's why I didn't put him there.
No, I mean, but they could heat him back up, no problem. Because you could work the whole, like, man, I've been here, I've never left here. Like, I'm Mr. TNA Impact. Let me go after this guy. Let me defend the house, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the way. It's a similar story, I guess, to how he worked at Eric Young. But I still think it would be fun.
What about Moose and Cody Rhodes?
I wasn't gonna spend any time fantasy booking Cody Rhodes tonight. Um,
Oh, stop it.
I think that's definitely a match that Cody bleeds in, um, immediately almost. But yeah, no,
Moose
I
and
think
Wardlow.
Moose and Wardlow, if you go for the big men slapping meat angle,
Ooh.
Moose and Wardlow would be incredible.
Yes,
I would pay the $50 pay-per-view just for that match. I mean, seriously.
give me it.
Those two guys would give you 10 of the best minutes that you'd ever see, I think, on a wrestling pay-per-view. That would be
I think so
absolutely
too.
incredible.
Hell yeah.
Oh, so good. That's a great suggestion. Um, I'm looking like I'd love to see um, like Nyla Rose and Jordan Grace. I think that'd be a really good match.
Yeah.
If you want to go with the powerhouse match there,
Powerhouse women. Hell yeah. You know, we
you
have
know,
seen Nyla Rose. She's very destructive. She has so much more mass to her compared to the other women's roster in AEW. So
hmm
yeah, so having someone, you know, big like her, like
yeah,
Jordan Grace,
send
that'd
Big
be a
Mama
good
Swole
one.
out there. Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, hey,
And
Jordan
Jordan's
Grace didn't
such a
roll with
great
the Steiner for
worker.
nothing, right? I mean, she's got those guns.
Hell yeah. Oh my gosh, she does. What about Rohit Raju, my
Uh-huh.
man, against, oh shit, I just had it. Where'd it go? Oh man, where'd I have it? Oh, Ricky Starks. My thing closed.
Okay. Couple of smooth
Oh shit,
talkers,
no,
a
a
couple of
tag
solid
team. Hold
workers.
on. Ricky Starks and Rohit Raju tag team against, shit, my mind's
Oh,
going crazy.
tagging together. Okay.
That'd be interesting. They can do
that
like,
is
that would never happen, but I just saw
no,
them like
probably
work
not.
together really well. But they have a good match. Two heels facing off. You can make that work somehow.
Probably.
What else you got?
Sure. Um, I'm thinking, I'm thinking. I mean, it's easy to book the North versus anyone in that tag team
Oh my
division
god.
at AEW. I mean,
The
the
North and the
North
Young Bucks.
versus well, so I would rather see another Young Bucks Motor City Machine Guns match, but that's obviously happened
Oh yeah.
before. So yeah, North and Young Bucks would be great. A lot of people are clamoring for the North versus FTR, which would probably be pretty
Ooh.
good. I'm not the biggest FTR guy, but I really enjoyed their match on Dynamite this week against the whatever the Blondes, whatever they call Brian Pillman and Griff Garrison. Um, I thought
Actually,
that was
blonde.
sure. Yeah, I assume that's correct. But no, I thought it was a really good match. But yeah, I mean, there's so much potential um, for tag team matchups that would be awesome. Obviously, I mean, you have the Good Brothers. They could go up against the Young Bucks. Just all Bullet Club, stuff going on there. Um, I At some point they have to have Kenny Omega and Carl Anderson on screen together for a Bullet Club style reunion. I think it's just going to happen. It's not going to be a match, God forbid. Not anything against Carl Anderson, but that's not the match that I want to see. Um, so we'll see. I think there's a really good chance that we see the Young Bucks get involved. That we see Brian Cage get involved in a match. He just came from Impact also. So there's all these guys that are former Impact guys at AEW that they could go back and have matches. But now I'm trying to rack my brain like who are guys that didn't work at Impact that are in AEW that can now work that Impact roster. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see Will Hobbs and Willie Mack. I mean, that'd be a hell of a
Ooh.
match. Couple of really athletic big boys. I mean, that's just,
Oh yeah.
to me, that seems great. I'd love to see, uh, man, I don't know, you got another one you can throw out there?
I'm thinking. Man, I want to see Ricky Starks against everyone. I love that man. If we were covering AEW Dynamite instead of Impact, my man would be Ricky Starks because he has it all. Holy shit. Every time
I
I
think
watch this man and I'm just seeing his pictures on Instagram, I'm like, you are money. How did WWE not pick you up? It is crazy.
well, he's a little on the small side, and that's the kind of always been a sticking point with WWE for a large amount of people. And I think you're
Yeah.
a little bit higher, a lot bit higher on Ricky Starks than I am. I don't think there's anything wrong with Ricky Starks. He's just not my favorite, and that's okay. It's
Oh,
okay.
how dare you, Josh?
But I would love to see, especially fresh off of their Dynamite match against the Young Bucks, I would love to see TH2 against the Motor City Machine Guns. I think that would be awesome.
Oh, yes. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned earlier, anyone against the Motor City Machine Guns, but yeah, they have some good tag teams, or even the new kids that they've signed out on AEW.
Yeah,
We
the
have
Acclaimed.
Party, what's it called? Party,
Oh, Private Party, sure.
Private Party. I was close. Half of the name, got it. Against Private Party, I don't think they've ever gotten to work someone like the Motor City Machine Guns, and that's a
Right?
perfect tag team to be like, hey, we're veterans. They're here to help us new guys grow. Oh my gosh, that'd be an awesome addition to that whole roster for the tag team division, so they can go with anyone. But of course, they're also they're great wherever they go.
Yeah.
Motor City Machine Guns are just fantastic. Gosh, who else?
I mean, you could throw Butcher and the Blade against Ace Austin and Madman Fulton.
You know what I was thinking? I was just seeing, where have they been? We haven't seen.
So Ace Austin wrestled this week against Cody Deaner on Explosion, which is kind of like their version of Dark. But I mean, their storyline's they're not involved in anything right now. So, it is what it is.
I was like,
Yeah,
what? Where did it go?
like Impact doesn't have the deepest roster, but they also only have 2 hours a week. So, if you're not actively involved in the storyline, you're not getting tossed out there unless you're someone they are going to use as a squash. And they obviously don't want to put Ace Austin in that role. Man Fulton, they might be more willing to do, but they are not going to be using Ace Austin frequently in squash roles. He's only 23, and they want to keep him around for a while. So,
God, I can't believe he's so young. I'm so jealous.
right? Do you remember being 23? I barely do.
I hated 23. I feel like 23 was such a sad year for me. Like all the little like pop punk songs about like being 23. Like Blink-182
Well,
had
sure.
one,
I
and
mean,
like
what's
Julius
Mage Again
Rose had one.
specifically? Yeah. I mean, nobody likes you when you're
Yeah,
23. But I am living proof that is not
really tough.
true because I was 23 when I got married. So,
Aw, well that's nice.
sometimes it works out. Sometimes it works out being 23.
I
But it
remember
it
crying a lot
feels,
this year.
I don't remember much else of being 23 other than, that was the year of engagement and then leading up, of course, the stress of being, the wedding and all of that stuff. But obviously everything's great now. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, hey, it'd be great. You could even throw Dustin Rhodes and Tommy Dreamer at each other if you want to do an old man match.
Ooh, I kind of want to see that.
And then the last one I'll throw out, just in the interest of time, is Page versus Page. The Hangman Adam Page versus All Ego Ethan Page.
God
But
damn, that's a good one.
But if Ethan Page, of course, there's rumors about his contract expiring. We may naturally see Adam Page versus Ethan Page as an AEW rostered match, anyways. But for the purposes of this, he's still signed at Impact, so he's part of my fantasy booking, and I don't care what anyone has to say about that.
That would be a fantastic one. We talked about this before recording. There's the rumors that he's not signing with Impact. His contract expires at the end of this year, which there's only a few weeks left. We do see Josh Alexander. Apparently his contract's not over or up until like 9 months from now. So maybe that's where we're seeing that kind of a little bit of a turmoil between the team, between the North. Who knows if they'll split? Who knows what's going to happen? That's going to be something interesting to keep an eye out for, and eventually seeing where Ethan Page ends up. If he maybe goes to the Big E, NXT, or AEW, who knows? I think he'd be a
I
great fit in AEW. Holy shit, he can go
I think
anywhere.
he would
He's
be
such a
really good in
great guy.
AEW. I really would like to see him in AEW more than I would like to see him in WWE NXT, and that's just strictly
Agreed.
because I think he is someone that with control of his own creative would be
Can
someone
go
that you
far.
want to watch week after week after week on AEW, and then he'd be a guy you'd see on Dark at minimum every week. I think at least to start. So free 3 hours of free wrestling on YouTube every Tuesday. Um, when you're not watching Impact, go watch AEW Dark. They're showcasing a lot of talent that is not even signed. So definitely make sure you support those guys on YouTube as well. Moving quickly now to our kind of final portion of this week's episode of the 8-Bit Suplex. We are going to do a quick rundown here of the final resolution card. It is about 7 or 8 matches. So it's a pretty big card. We'll start here with what looks like is probably going to be your kickoff show match, which will be Havoc and Nevaeh taking on the Sea Stars, who, of course, we talked about a couple weeks ago when they debuted in the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament. I don't think they are signed to Impact,
I don't
but
think so either.
nonetheless, they are back working again. I guess they made enough of an impression on Scott D'Amore and Don Callis to come back and work at least another match. And, obviously, it feels like it's a match that's going to be kind of fodder for Havoc and Nevaeh as they get ready for Jordan Grace and Jazz. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to go Havoc and Nevaeh here, but I'm interested to see what the Sea Stars bring again. I thought their first match in Impact was very good, and I'd like to see them get another good match under their belts here.
Agreed, 100%. Could you imagine the upset if they won though? I always want to see that, like
Oh,
something you think you for
sure.
sure know who's going to win because it's the contracted talent versus the non-contracted talent, and it's like, what if they just say swerve? Like that would be amazing because I love those girls. I think the Sea Stars are so great. I really do hope they have a great match on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit taller task to have a better match here because they are working Havoc and Nevaeh, who can sometimes, they need someone to carry them sometimes here and there. But really, should be a good match. This next match, it is comedy match through and through, and it's not good. This is not going to lead off the card, certainly. So I don't know what order they're going to be having these matches. I'm just going from bottom to top on the Impact preview site. But we have Hernandez taking on Falaba. Perhaps this is the culmination of the
A lot of money.
the Wad of Money, which we of course know is held presently by Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. So of course they are also involved in this match. We have special referee Kiera Hogan, and for some reason a special ring announcer in Tasha Steelz. I don't know why this match is happening. I don't know why there's special referee and special ring announcer. But I
How
know
do we
I'm
get
going.
here?
Hey, listen. This is months of talking about Hernandez's arm wrestling money.
Yes, since we
And
started this podcast.
it will be a sad day when that storyline ends. Maybe this is it.
Which might be Saturday.
No, it's not going to be. I just know it's not. It's just definitely it's going to keep going because I don't see how someone winning this match is going to end that because Hogan and Steele still have the money unless Hernandez figures it out. Maybe he chases them and Volleyball wins with a count out. I think that's what I'm going to say. Volleyball wins because Hernandez chases Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. Although if Kiera Hogan goes, then I mean she can't do the counting. I don't know. It's gonna be messy, dude. That's all I know.
Yeah, like I said, how did we get here? I don't know what's happening, but we'll see. Hopefully, it's nice and short compared to the rest of the card.
Yeah, I don't see this.
I think
going
I got
more,
a ditto on.
Yeah, this is like 3.5, 4
for
minutes.
like 3
tops.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So,
So
yeah, I
next,
predicted is pretty good.
yeah, right, I mean, it's got to be something stupid, without a better word to use. Next, we have the Defeat Rohit Challenge. Of course, there's not a named opponent. We saw TJP say, "Hey man, good luck on your final defeat Rohit or final resolution defeat Rohit challenge." We know it's anyone but TJP, or as Scott Demore says, anyone not named TJP. So that is why TJP is going to be in this defeat Rohit challenge. I say that not only does he come into the challenge, but I'm going to say he walks away as the X Division champion. Rohit drops the belt tomorrow or today if you're listening to this on Saturday. That is my bold prediction. Sandy,
Boo, my man.
I know what you're going to say.
Man.
I already knew what you were going to say. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
who
no.
faces him. You think Rohit's going to hook and crook his way out of it.
He better, or I'm going to be pissed. You're going to hear the next recording next week, you guys, and I'm going to be pissed the entire time if my man, Rohit Raju, does not retain. He has been the most entertaining thing in this show for me, and my favorite wrestler right now on Impact. And, man, for the God, if TJP is the one that takes it too. Make him fist
Well,
that Josh.
listen, the positive thing is that TJP doesn't think he can get very far because, the earth is flat or something. I don't know. Not to bring that up. Anyways,
Josh, now I'm upset.
yeah, I know.
He's one of those.
I think he's dabbled. There's a few professional wrestlers that despite quite literally working around the globe are flat Earth conspiracy guys. But we got to wrap this up, so we're not going to get into that now.
I will go on a tangent right now.
Yes, we'll save that for the science podcast. So, moving right along, we have Eric Young accompanied to the ring by Joe Doring, taking on Rhino. It feels too easy to say this, but Eric Young is taking the win here.
I say Rhino gets one over.
Okay. Do you think he wins straight, or do you think he wins by DQ? Because it could be Joe Doring deciding to just tee off on him.
Yeah, by DQ.
By DQ? That's probably a safe pick. I might have actually talked myself into that. But I'm gonna, for the purposes of our official win-loss record on picks, which I'm sure everyone at home is keeping tallies of, because I know for shit we are not. I'm gonna say Eric Young gets the win. I'm just gonna stick with it. He's gonna give Rhino a pile driver, which is scary to think about a man of Rhino's size being giving a pile driver. But he's gonna do it. It's just the way it goes. That's the business, brother. Next up, we have, because of course, my best friend and yours, Tommy Dreamer, is in a match on a pay-per-view. It has to be old school rules. That apparently is the only way that Tommy Dreamer will appear on pay-per-view. What is old school rules? It's a hardcore match. It's a no DQ match. It's whatever you want to call it match. It's anything goes. And so Tommy Dreamer is, of course, taking on Larry D. If Tommy Dreamer wins, Larry D goes downtown with Tommy Dreamer to get booked by the police for the attempted murder of Johnny Bravo. But if Larry D wins, he walks away a free man. What are you thinking here, Sandy?
Oh my God. Well, either way, we got to see because Larry D has been saying that, hey, he was set up. Maybe there's going to be some shenanigans where the person that set him up is going to come out and some shit's going to happen. But I have no idea. I think, no, Larry D has to win, right?
It's a tough one because you don't know where they want to take the story. You don't know if they want to wrap it. You don't know if they want to keep pushing it through to Hard to Kill. I'm thinking they're going to keep the story going. And in my mind, the best way to keep the story going is if he gets taken downtown and he rats out whoever set him up. And that sets up whatever the match at Hard to Kill will be between Tommy Dreamer and whoever set up Larry D. That's my thought. So because of that, against better judgment, because there's three things guaranteed in this life, Sandy, and that's death, taxes, Tommy Dreamer loses on pay-per-view. I'm going to choose Tommy Dreamer to win on pay-per-view because I can't see the story going further any other way.
Yeah. That's true, exactly. So that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, Tommy Dreamer can't win a pay-per-view in 2020, but then it's like, okay, if he does or if he doesn't, then the storyline's over. Who knows? We'll see. I really do think they're going to keep the story going because Larry D saying, hey, I was set up. It wasn't me. And we haven't really heard anything else about that. He hasn't really kind of given us more hints as to who it could have been, why it could have been. So we shall see. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But this one, I think, is the one we're all waiting for, which is, of course, the intergender tag match between Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K versus Eddie and Alicia Edwards. Now, in a kayfabe world, there is no way that Eddie Edwards would lose in an intergender tag match when the other man is Caleb with a K.
Mm-hmm.
There is no fathomable reason why the Edwards should lose this match. Eddie Edwards has been at the top of the card. He was Impact champion 2 months ago. Maybe 3 now. I cannot for the life of me see any reason, I want to stress this, no reason at all for Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K to win this match. And that's why I'm going to say Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K win this match. I just can't. It doesn't make any sense. The match doesn't make sense at all. And I hate picking it. But I'm just going to say Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K win it. I'm going to say.
You know what? I think so too.
I don't really understand. I think Sami Callihan could get involved.
God,
There could be a distraction there.
Oh.
You know what's coming. The lights are going to turn out. Next thing you know, I mean, I don't believe we'll have the tag in, tag out rules that you see in like WWE with intergender tag team matches. So there could be potentially, Caleb fighting Alicia and Eddie fighting Tennille at times. I don't believe they're doing an automatic tag rule. So it could be something like Caleb pins Alicia and that's how they weasel away with it. Who knows? But I just for the life of me, I don't know why, but I'm like you, I'm going to Tennille Dashwood, Caleb with a K.
Yeah, same here.
I guess.
Had to stop this card for a show.
Well, it's going to heat up here a little bit. We have the Knockouts title match. The defending Deonna Purrazzo, accompanied to the ring by Kimberly, taking on the challenger, the Demon Assassin Rosemary, who is, of course, accompanied by her best friend, Taya Valkyrie. I think there's no way that Deonna loses the title to Rosemary. Not a knock on Rosemary, just where we're at with Deonna. The Su Yung stuff. This is a stopgap challenge match. I think it'll be a good match. There could be some physicality between Taya and Kimber, which is never a bad thing. There could be some kind of weird shit with Su Yung happening, but I think ultimately that would happen after the match. But I think Deonna gets the win here.
Hands down. And I don't even think it has to do anything with Kimber and Taya going at it or Su Yung coming in and doing some fuckery. I don't think any of that has to happen for Deonna to put away Rosemary. Again, not like you said, not a knock on Rosemary, but there's Deonna.
Yeah. So the next match is a singles match to give the opportunity to challenge for the Impact Tag Team Championship belts. It is the Ethan Page being accompanied to the ring by Josh Alexander, taking on one half of the tag team champions, Carl Anderson. Worth noting, he is not listed as being accompanied to the ring by Doc Gallows. So it looks like there may be potential for 2-on-1 here. I don't know if they're really itching to run back the North versus the Good Brothers. I think that might be the case, especially with the implications of Ethan Page's contract. I think Ethan Page gets the win, and then he gets one more tag team title match, and then he loses on his way out. Is kind of my prediction. So I'm going to say Ethan Page wins this one, but then the Good Brothers win at the rematch.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. That would be a great thing to do too. Maybe some kind of more turmoil between Josh and Ethan, and then like you mentioned, when they do finally do that one final tag team match against Good Brothers, so they will lose, of course, depending on Ethan Page's situation with his contract. But it could just be a complete fallout and disintegration of the North, leaving Josh Alexander to be a new singles competitor, which is kind of exciting to think about, putting him in the singles scene there, and he can easily get up in the ranks. He's a great worker.
I could see him in the X division very quickly. Personally,
hands down. So I got Ethan too.
Yeah, and that leads us to our main event, the Impact World Title match. The defending Rich Swann taking on the Ultimate Finesser, Chris Bay. So
this one should be a banger.
This will be most likely match of the night. It's obviously got the main event spot, so it's going to be going quite a bit. It's worth noting, and you'll notice as we're breaking down this card, there's been 0 predictions about Kenny Omega being here, because there shouldn't be, because he will be in Mexico during this event. So obviously he's very good, but he's not 2 places. He can't be in Nashville and in Mexico at the same time. So he'll be defending against Laredo Kid probably about the same time that this match goes on. I feel. Well, I'll let you go first, so in case we have similar thoughts here, because I think we do, but I'll let you go first.
I feel like this match is going to be a great showcase for Chris Bay, showing that he can be a top contender, that he can be a future champion, that he can work. I think the title, of course, is going to stay on Rich Swann. I think this is going to be a great exhibition match for Chris Bay, and he's up there with a worker similar to his style. And so they're both going to be able to showcase each other and push each other to the limits to show what they can really do and how they can really go. It's going to be a great match. It's going to be athletic. It's going to be fast paced. It's going to hopefully they'll be able to tell a story in the match of how it can be broken down into just more than just athletic things. But yeah, I do see Rich Swann ultimately taking the win here, clean.
Yeah, it's one of those things too, because like you mentioned earlier, we live in this world where we know what's going on in the world of wrestling. We have Twitter, we have all kinds of things. We know about the partnership that Impact has with New Japan around the Super J Cup. We know TJP is going over there. To me, it makes sense. Okay, if you want to throw your X Division champion over, that's why I was comfortable making that pick there. I don't think you send your world champion to the Super J Cup to lose to any of those guys in that tournament. And that's not a knock on those guys, but they should not be beating a world champion of anything. With the exception, of course, listen, ACH, Leo Rush, those guys are great. But they're not even signed to New Japan, right? So I don't send my world champion to lose to guys that are not signed by New Japan in a New Japan event. And the guy that's the New Japan, I'm not letting ELP beat my guys either, right? I think it's ELP that's in that tournament. I think that the title stays with Rich Swann. Chris Bay and TJP go and do the Super J Cup, and then we'll see, because I think that's only happening on one night. I think they're doing all the Super J Cup in one night. So they could potentially just go and come back and not miss any Impact time. But I also, like I said, I don't see them putting their Impact World Champion on that unless he wins it. And I don't see New Japan giving a non-contracted guy the win there. It just doesn't make sense. It's just not, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, no.
So for for reasons outside of Impact, I'm going to say Rich Swann keeps it. I think Rich Swann keeps it a really long time? I don't really think so. I think there'll be something, for the next year, we might see some more guys come through. I don't think this is going to be like this one of these like year-long title runs. Eric Young's getting heated back up. Joe Doring's obviously there. There's some other things. So I think eventually, maybe even at Hard to Kill, we do see Rich Swann drop it. Potentially even to Moose. We could see Moose, be the one that kind of takes over there. It doesn't look like they're beating Moose anytime soon. But yeah, I can't see this coming off of Rich Swann right now. I just can't.
Yeah. And even outside of the New Japan things, for me, this is a weak kind of build up for a championship match with Chris Bay. So I personally also don't think he has that star power or that name to be the head of the company right now. So yeah, that's going to be a no.
Yeah, I
No
mean,
for
and
me.
again, not a knock on Chris Bay. He's one of the most talented guys on
No.
that roster. He'll get there. I think we'll see him
Yeah,
as
just
an
not
Impact
yet.
World Champion. Maybe even this time next year, we'll be talking about Chris Bay as the champion. But yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
Rich Swann.
same.
So
Same.
that is our final resolution preview. That's our, kind of fantasy booking fun stuff that we did with, AEW Impact. It's our Impact review of the week. You'll notice second week in a row, and we do apologize for this. We don't have video game topics to talk about.
Womp womp womp.
It was because of anticipation of what happened with Dynamite and what potentially could have happened with Dynamite. So that's kind of what we were geared up to do, and then we kind of had to pivot because they didn't reveal any new information. So shame on us for counting
Annoying.
on the wrestling business to stick to things. Um,
Faster.
yeah, cards always subject to change, as we like to say in the business. But I am here to say that not next week, because we will review Final Resolution and next week's Impact, and we'll probably have a smaller gaming topic to throw in there as well, because I don't know that, unless of course the world blows up again with Kenny Omega doing something on Impact. We'll plan to kind of have a normal episode, and then over the holidays we are going to have a 2-part mega video game episode. We're trying to get some guests lined up to be a part of that, but we've spent enough time away from gaming. We want to have gaming a part of the show. With the 8-Bit Suplex, we're crying out loud. But Sandy, you want to go ahead and let the people know what we're going to be talking about on that mega episode?
We are finally going to cover Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow.
And that's just part 1. So it is going to be a 2-part episode. There's a absolute shit ton to talk about when it comes to Pokemon. Obviously, you can't just talk about the games. You have to talk about cultural impact. You have to talk about, the fact that it's spanning generations now. My children watch Pokemon. My children play Pokemon. My children have stuffed Pokemon dolls and plushies, the same that I did, right? So, and different now because there's far more Pokemon than when we were kids, Sandy. And that we'll talk the numbers as well as far as that goes. We'll talk about at some point too, I'm sure, what we want to see out of Pokemon as we kind of continue to grow and push into the future. So definitely want to make sure you guys tune in for that. We are going to record those hopefully ahead of time so that we can enjoy the holidays, so that you can enjoy the holidays, so you're not waiting around for us to put out another episode. And of course, if something does happen with Kenny Omega or with Impact that's huge over the holidays, we'll make sure to pop in and give a quick update attached to those episodes. But really, really exciting to do Pokemon. Also very nerve-wracking because it is, you don't want to mess up on Pokemon. I mean, that's kind of like, I don't know that there's been a bigger gaming franchise that has started in the last 20 years, 25 years, than that. Obviously, there's bigger franchises, but not in the last 25 years. So we'll tackle it head on. But yeah, I think that about covers kind of, where we've been with the video game stuff. We know we are a half gaming podcast. We're gonna get back to gaming. We're compiling our list of gaming topics that we want to get to start the next year. And we're sorry for missing gaming. So here comes a giant 2-part Pokemon episode. So Merry
Stuff your
Christmas,
face
Happy
with Pokemon.
Holidays,
Woo.
to all that. That's your our Santa Josh and Santa Sandy are coming through on that one. I do want to point out, as I am a huge Final Fantasy fan, that Super Smash Brothers did announce yesterday at the Video Game Awards that they were going to have a new fighter release in their Fighter Pack 2, and it was revealed that it was, of course, the one-winged angel himself, Sephiroth, which, if you are, of course, a fan of King Omega's, you know that the name of his finisher, One-Winged Angel, comes from his love of that character as well. So definitely excited to play as Sephiroth in Super Smash Brothers, but also it's kind of one of those kind of silly things where it's like, could Mario actually beat Sephiroth in a fight? Could Princess Peach? I don't think so. So we'll have to see kind of how they integrate that character there, and don't OP him too much.
We shall see. I gotta download. I gotta fire that baby up. I haven't played in a little while.
I haven't played in a little while either, because there really hasn't been a character come out that I really want to like. It's brought me back to pick up the sticks. But Sephiroth is that for me, because my childhood was spent playing Final Fantasy VII multiple times. It resonated with me. My game of the year is probably Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't know that we'll have a chance to talk about like a full like game of the year kind of thing. But I'll just say that Final Fantasy VII Remake is probably the best new game that I played this year.
Nice. I was never a Final Fantasy person. I never played any of them. I don't know how that happened. But
I don't know either. But hey, listen, I mean, RPGs aren't for everyone. They're just not.
And
so
I love RPGs, so I don't know what happened.
Maybe it's the style. I don't know. Maybe it's the JRPG. Maybe it's the, because obviously Western RPGs, very different. They're not turn-based typically, like the older Final Fantasy games are. And of course, Final Fantasy now, of course, is not even turn-based either. So, we'll definitely at some point. We'll cover Final Fantasy if Sandy misses an episode, and I'll pull in a Final Fantasy expert to talk about that with me.
There you go.
But and if I ever miss, Sandy, I'm sure has a list of games that she can break down as well. Either she decides to go solo, and make it the Sandy show, or if she brings in a guest, we'll see. Wow. You got a built-in guest at any time you need one. So. I'm sure that we are, we're going to get back to gaming, folks. It's going to come. So don't worry.
It's coming.
It was a big couple weeks here in pro wrestling. But it is coming, for sure. So with that, make sure you check out all of the podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Keeping It Strong Style, One Nation Radio, Ricky and Clive, the usuals. Go on to prowrestlingtees.com/social suplex. Pick up your Social Suplex shirts now. I mean, if you want to get them in time for the holidays, great shirts to give it to the wrestling fan in your life. Sandy, why don't you run us through some plugs?
You can follow me on Twitter at Sailor Zelda, and I am on Instagram at Sandy Gaviria. Still working on getting those together. Should do a contest to have people help me do a new thing for those. What are yours, Josh?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Laughlin_Josh. You can follow the 8-Bit Suplex podcast, of course, at 8-Bit Suplex on Twitter and on TikTok. Definitely follow at Social Suplex on all your social media as well. Check out the Wrestling Squared Circle on Facebook. I'm trying to think of anything else to say. But I will, I'll quote the man of the hour, because with every good feeling comes an end. And so I must bid you all adieu. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, goodbye and good night. Bang.
Good night, guys.
Okay?
Thank you
Was
so
that
much for
good?
listening.
I
Yeah,
think that
you
was
did
good. I nailed
You
it. Nailed it in one. Leave it in.
Nailed it.
See you guys.
Bye.
Looking for the perfect gift? Check out a Visa virtual account, available at giftcards.com. Gifting a Visa virtual account is easy. Simply select your gift amount, add optional personalization, and click Send. A thoughtful gift delivered in moments. As one of the world's most recognized brands, virtual Visa cards are secure, never expire, and work for any budget. They're also eco-friendly. Eliminate the need for plastic with a virtual gift delivered straight to their inbox. Whether you're shopping for a family member, friend, coworker, or client, a Visa virtual account is always the perfect fit. Visa virtual accounts can be used online anywhere Visa is accepted, so the possibilities are endless. They're convenient to send and easy to spend, making it the perfect gift for any occasion. Start gifting your virtual Visa today at www.giftcards.com/virtual.